fresh out the oven.
What is cracking, everybody? It's megapiemanphd here, and welcome to another Look at My Map video. This time for Payload Midwest RC1A. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have hit Release Candidate 1A. There's an A at the end because I forgot to put the the intro, these things. Give me a sec. CL draw HUD 1. Those. I forgot to put the pictures there for RC1. Now that I got the pictures there, not the pictures. Now that I got the pictures there, it's RC1A, and this map is done. Maybe. It depends on what kind of feedback I might get going on in the future and what things may or may not need to be addressed. I know that there's still a little bit of interest in this map within the competitive Highlander community for the RGL group of TF2 competitive peoples, and if they give me some feedback that I would agree with and would want to implement, there might be an RC2 or an RC3 or an RC4, I don't know. But for now, Payload Midwest is done. It's been about 2.5 years or so in the making. I've been working on this map off and on throughout that time, trying to make it as good as I possibly can get, and now we're here. So, what's different between the last video that I made on this map and this video? Let's get into a couple of things, shall we? So, I changed how players spawn in this room. Previously, they would spawn facing the door. They would go out the door, then have to turn left, and then turn either left or right, which meant that in order to go out this doorway, they had to make a complete U-turn 180. And players don't really like doing that. So what I did is I changed it from them spawning this way to spawning this way. This way, all they gotta do is they can go diagonally through here and then go left or right. They're pointed in the direction that they want to go. And that's really what you want to do for a spawn room. You want to use a spawn room to point players in the direction they need to go in order to get them to go where you want them to. If you don't do that, it can be so much confusing and annoying for players to navigate, and sometimes players can just get messed up and go the wrong way. So in order to avoid such horrible things from happening, I have made it so that they now point directly in this direction. So whether they go to the left or right, they're still pointed at going forward if they want to go forward, which will take them to the cart track, and where all the action is. I've also moved around quite a few of the med pack and ammo positions. I moved the one that was out there to in here, moved around some of the stuff over at A, I think, maybe. Yeah, I edited around some of this to get rid of health in some places, ammo in some places. Makes ammo smaller in some, make health smaller or bigger in some. Zeus was kind enough to create a version of the dump truck you see right there that has a more accurate collision mesh. The collision mesh for the stock dump truck is not great. It makes it so that if you're walking on top of the thing, you're actually walking on air. So, not ideal. It's a little bit weird. So Zeus was able to, that's Zeus 3005, of course. This guy who's got his little tag over here, that guy right there, he made a more accurate collision mesh for that. So you're no longer walking on air and walking on nothing. Now when you go across that, it actually sort of matches the model itself. What else did we change here? I added this thing. Did I talk about this? Did I talk about this yet? I added this thing here to try to block some sight lines a little bit better. I've had issues with B with being a little bit too openish, but I don't want to just put walls all over the place because there's already quite a few walls here as it is. So I came up with this idea of having this sort of pipe that went through some concrete here, and it makes it so that if you're standing down here, you're not going to be seen over on this side, so that you get some nice natural cover with height. It also allowed me to implement rollback and roll forward zones. Now, I had thought about rollback and roll forward zones in this map previously and had gotten rid of them because they hadn't really worked out the way that I wanted them to. And the only reason why I added these here is because it didn't make sense to me not to have them. with the angle of the ramps on both sides of the pipe thing, it just wouldn't make sense not to have a rollback zone for the right side and a roll forward zone on the left side of the image that you're currently looking at. That's just how it makes sense, so I put them in there. I mean, I could have put a roll forward zone over here as well with the angle of this, but that would have just given blue some more area for free. So I'm using a roll forward zone. It is a slight, very short roll forward zone, so blue only gets a little bit for free, but I think it works. Annoyingly enough, with the way that TF2 and the Source Engine does their models, especially for TF2 and the models for tracks, you get little gaps like this, and little things like this. You'll find them on official maps that Valve made too. It's annoying. I don't like it. Source 2 has a better system for doing stuff like this, but we're not using Source 2. We are using Source 1 in TF2, and you just gotta deal with it. Do the best you can and just deal. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Moving on. Moved around the upper platform here as well, so there's more movement area in this part and less up here to move around in. Added this pallet here. Somebody asked me to make a trimping spot for demo nights so that they can go up that with their shield, so I did. It's clipped nice and smooth, so you can rocket off of that and move around. If you have the tide turner, go off that, go around the corner, maybe do something over here, I don't really know. Moved around more health and ammo. Moved this staircase. The staircase used to be over here. It is now over there. When it was over here, snipers could get up there and snipe over that. They now can't do that anywhere near as easily. They don't get access to seeing this ground over here like they could previously, so that is nice. Moving on. All of this is the same. There used to be a full health kit over here. Got rid of that. That was being used for spawn camping. Not what I wanted to do with it, so it is gone. And this area is probably the biggest area that's been reworked since the last video that I made on this particular map. I decided to make it so that you can go from this low ground up to here and around this side while keeping this as a drop down. Now, previously this was all just one big drop down, but this map has a lot of one-way drops. Lots of them. And I wanted to try to fix that a bit while keeping the same ideas that those drop downs had. Sure, red team can go around, up, and over here, but it's going to take a bit of a roundabout way for them to doing it. And I haven't seen them do it much. It just looks more natural to me than the way that it used to be. It makes a bit more sense to me, and it gives blue more options when they're attacking so that they can go up over here and get a little bit of high ground from going through this path, whereas previously all this was low ground. All this was low ground, and there wasn't really anything that they could do to change that up. I think I was able to keep control over these sniper sight lines. This one is still kind of but, you know, you do what you can. You can go around this flank to try to get to a sniper that's here. The sniper that's here can see all the way to that shipping sign, as well as the drop down that does still exist. But that's pretty much the biggest difference. I was changed around this thing to be a little bit easier to navigate. I still wanted to keep this pipe here. This conveyor belt thing from Granary, because I really like the prop, but I'm just trying to figure out the best way to make it so that players can go around it without it being too awkward. So I kind of hid even more of this prop behind some brushes. You won't see that if you're in the game. You can only see that if you're no-clipping around. But this seems to work a lot better, and this vent also works for giving some nice cover from anybody who's coming out of this doorway. They won't get immediately shot in the face by snipers who are over here. What else did we change? I simplified some of this in here, lowered this a little bit. I did lower this actually overall. I lowered this whole thing down just a tad bit so that red doesn't have quite as extreme of height variation for this. I believe the height for this used to be like all the way up here to be flat with this particular brush, which is a little bit much. So I lowered that down. That way, if you're going over this hump, you still get a little bit of height advantage, and it's not all red team. It does help blue team after they capture C and they're moving in to D. And I, of course, had to adjust this to match, but a little more detailing by putting this doorway here. And I changed around this route. Now, it used to be that you would go down, and then you would just walk around a corner. And that was proving to be a little bit too easy for red to do, because red would basically just pop out of this spawn, go this way, go around here, and then flank blue as they tried to go in the other paths. Red was able to use that route way too easily in order to push blue out and to get to blue spawn for a little bit of spawn camping. So I made it so that red has more advantage going, that blue has more advantage going in this building than red has coming out of the building. At least that was the idea. This is, of course, the shortest path from blue spawn, which is over here. Put some nice beams in here. Put some nice beam work over here as well, just to make everything look a little bit nicer than it was, and a little bit make a bit more sense. And I did just the lighting in last a little bit to try and make it less dull and gray. I don't know if I fully achieved that, but I definitely did try. But yeah, this should make it so that it's harder for red to push out, easier for blue to push in, but not so easy that blue's able to get D automatically. Because I do want blue team to use these other paths. If I didn't want blue team to use the other routes, I wouldn't have made them. So the idea is that this is the shortest route for blue, but it does lead to the easiest place to defend, which is popping out of red spawn right here and defending all of this. I imagine I've pretty much always seen a sentry in this area, which is good, which is what I'm looking for. Shortest path for blue, easiest for red to defend. The other paths are defendable as well, of course. This door shuts when after C is captured. It's only there so blue team, not blue team, red team can use this route to get C. But I want to make sure that blue team attacking use these other routes in order to break a defense and to push into D, and the idea of doing that was making it so that blue can sort of push here, and then that's the front line. You got the front line that goes basically right across this, which is the main idea. If that's not where the front line ends up being more often than not, then my ideas aren't going to work out, and I might have to rethink a couple of things, but so far with the testing that I've done, that seems to work, and we're at RC1, so I don't plan on having to do a ton of rework for this map for anything. If the map needs it, and I can think of what to do, I will rework some stuff, depending upon any feedback I might get in the future, but I really don't plan on doing any major reworks. Anything's just from the future that I do with this map. It's probably going to be small tweaks here and there just to make it as good as it could be. And I've got like 3 other projects that are starting up now that I've finally got Midwest finished. It's finally done! Or at a point that I'm happy with leaving it until I get more information on it in the future. Whether or not Valve will pick it up, who the crap knows. But I can move on to other things, which is nice, because I have so many ideas and so little time to do them. Actually, I got 3 main projects, and I got at least 2 other ideas that are bubbling about that I may or may not do. There's PD Toxicity I can go back to. There's CP Burley that I can go back to. Finish those. The 3 projects I'm talking about, those aren't included in it. I'm talking about brand spanking new map projects. So we'll see how things go in the future. You can stay tuned right here over on my main channel at megapieman. Yeah, it's just youtube.com/megapieman is the main channel. And thank you very much for watching. I'm megapieman. Let me know what you think about this map or this video in the comments section. Check out the link in the description for the link to the Steam Workshop page for this map if you would like to give it a vote. Yes, no, maybe so. I'd love your input. Thank you again for watching. I'll talk to you later.